When's the last time you've done a deep dive looking into who you are, why you think what you think, and where you came from and where you're going? Well, that's something that I feel like every person should do. I think everyone should write down what has bothered them in the past, what their current mindset is, where they want to be in the future, etc. And from what I've found, going to a counselor on a weekly basis or a bi-weekly or every few weekly basis has been very useful for me to understand what are some traumas that I experienced as a kid, even though they may be minor. How do they impact the way I view the world? How do they impact my personality type, etc.? And from what I've found is talking to a counselor has been really useful in just uncovering who I am, uncovering where I am currently, and uncovering where I can go in the future and how to create the steps to go there. And, I talk with a lot of people and I kind of counsel a lot of people in different ways, whether that's quitting porn or just, in day to day life. I try to help them out, try to understand their situations. And, they sometimes ask, well, how are you able to, why are you so good at this? Or why do I feel so comfortable talking with you? Or, man, I wish I was more clear. I wish I felt as, like I had a direction like you. And I say, my number one tip is go to a counselor, go to a therapist, go to someone on a regular basis who is a mentor who can help you uncover these different things. I've talked with a lot of people going to college, on late night parties, just having a deep conversation with someone, and they say, and I say, how many people have you told about this issue? Whether that's just they're struggling with their girlfriend, they're struggling with this idea or whatever kind of thing it is. And they say, I haven't really told anyone. And I'm like, why haven't you told your friends? And they're like, well, I don't really have the greatest friends, or they don't really care that much. And, I hear that all the time from people. They're not living a life that's filled with deep connections around them. They're not living a life where they can go to someone with their deep troubles. And, solitary confinement teaches us that living alone for a while without telling anyone anything literally makes you go crazy. And I feel like people live a minor version of that on a regular basis. And to me, that's a really saddening thing because, why punish yourself with that kind of treatment when, there's all kinds of people out there who are willing to listen. And whether or not they're your friends, you pay a little bit of cash so that you can funnel your thoughts to them. And it's such an odd concept. Why would I pay money to talk with someone? And it's like, well, because it will help you from going insane. It will help you from doing something that you'll regret. It will help you uncover who you are. It will help you reach the levels that you want to reach. It will help you become the man you want to become or woman. And these are the kind of things that I recommend to people. In my opinion, it is a literal superpower, being able to be vulnerable with someone, open up, tell them your goals, tell them your plans. And what I find useful about a counselor or a therapist is that they're a third party person. They're not just a friend in your life. Like you don't feel some kind of obligation to say less or not waste their time or, be reciprocal and ask them about how they're doing once you've kind of mentioned some. It's like, no, with a counselor, you can be ultimately selfish. You can dive deep for an hour about how you're feeling, how you're doing, and you don't have to ever feel this kind of guilt of, man, I've talked their ear off for an hour. It's like, no, that's what it's made for, because a lot of people don't have those kind of people in their lives where they can talk straight for 45 minutes and dive into it. Like a lot of people in social circles that I've found, blah, 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 talk about themselves. Oh, yeah, that reminds me of me. Oh, yeah, I had a situation like that. Oh, what about when I did this? Or, oh, it's just this circle of people that are like me, what about this? My story's better. I can outdo you. I can outnumber your story and all these things. And it's like, I don't like engaging with those kind of people. Therefore, I don't always share what I'm thinking with that many people because I don't want to be the guy who's just blabbing about his life. I want to be the guy who is asked, how are you doing, Harley? And it's like, okay, you're actually interested in talking? I guess I'll give you a short scoop of how it's going. And if you're interested more, ask. And if you do, then I'll go a little deeper. But I'm not just going to blab your ear off because I don't feel like it's fair. But I feel like people don't always recognize how much they're just blabbing and how often they're really asking questions. So my recommendation to people is, yep, your friends kind of like to talk about themselves. Well, you can take the action of getting a counselor, talking to him about different struggles that you have, different goals, different plans, things that you're kind of not wanting to tell other people, or things that you're afraid to tell other people. Because, let's just say, for example, you struggle to form deep connections with friends, and your friends that you currently have are not the greatest at listening, or not the greatest at receiving that kind of information. And my recommendation would be, go to a therapist and explain that problem specifically. You're going to understand from a different perspective how the situation's going. You're going to maybe learn some tools and ways to maneuver through that, whether that's ways in which you can actually form the deep connections with those friends, or maybe tools and ways of you might have to remove some of those friends from your life because they don't feel as if it doesn't seem as if they're helping you grow. And also getting tools on how to build more friends, and tools on what to look for in people. And that's just a slight example of, if you're struggling to connect with your friends and be honest, going to a counselor, explaining that to him or her would be really useful in uncovering what's the real problem going on. Why are you friends with them? Is it because you feel obligated to? Is it just because you have history together? Why is it? And what kind of person are you looking for? What energizes you in a conversation? Those kind of questions that the counselor can ask can be really useful in you surveying people in your life of wow, this person could actually be a friend. Let's use the tools that we learned in counseling or whatever to form that connection. And that's just one example of why I think counseling's so useful. I attribute this podcast, I attribute this business, I attribute my growth in regards to my relationships with my girlfriend. I attribute a lot of things partially to my counselor. I attribute it to other people in my life as well. I'm very blessed to have a tight-knit circle of close people. But the counselor's a way that I can just kind of get clear on some things. I don't want to talk this person's ear off for a long time. They're busy, and, I just want to selfishly explain what's on my mind and not feel obligated after to listen. I just want to dump some stuff and really just get clear about it. And, I think this has been such a superpower for me. Like I've said, second time now. I think that people would truly benefit from it. So, my recommendation, spend a little bit of money. If you have insurance, it's going to cost almost nothing. And find a counselor. And if you really are financially that strapped, well, then you're going to have to bite down and maybe talk to one of your close people in your circle about this and about your goal of counseling and about your need to open up more and all those things. But, I'm a person who helps people quit porn, and I have deep conversations with them about that, life, relationships, dating, finances, fitness, those kinds of things, because I feel like it's all interconnected. And if you want to have a conversation with me, feel free to. My link is in the description, and I'd love to get to know you, understand your story, see how I can help, etc. But, my recommendation to anyone, reach out to someone that you trust. Reach out to someone who you feel comfortable reaching out to. Don't make it be forced. Make sure that it's something that you want to do. And I look forward to seeing you on the call if that's one of you. Farewell.